What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Unfiltered Experience. It's Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're always here every single week, bringing you the unfiltered conversations with both myself, Mr. Christopher Rausch, the No Excuses Coach, and my beloved partner in crime over here,
Friday night, Scotty G.
Friday night, Scotty G.
What's
you
got,
on
bro?
Friday night, Scotty G?
I'm weathering the storm. How about you?
Yeah. Just having a little cocktail here, just trying to process things that are going on in the world today, and excited for the conversation tonight here with you and our special guest here on Friday night Unfiltered Experience. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whether you're joining us here live or on the replay, we appreciate you every single week being here, part of our Unfiltered family. As always, be sure to go be a part of the Facebook community at www.theunfilteredexperience.com. theunfilteredexperience.com. Go check us out. Make sure you're there in the Facebook group, because when we're not having these conversations here, we're having those conversations on the Facebook group, and you guys are a part of the family. You guys are a part of the discussion. So tonight's conversation is going to be fire. Tonight's conversation is going to be all about what's going on in the world today. If you've been living under a rock, you might not have known about the school shooting that has happened here in the United States in Uvalde, Texas. We're going to be talking about that. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about opportunities and solutions for what we can all do in our own neighborhoods, in our own families, with our own selves to help find solutions and opportunities for these situations that we have going on in our world today, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. That's what Scott and I want to do every single week, is bring these unfiltered conversations to you so that you get inspired to go do something in your neighborhood, and together, all of us become a part of the solution, not part of the problem. So thank you guys all for being here. Without any further ado, we're going to introduce our guests and jump right into it. We got Robert Broker in the house. He says, what up? He goes, almost missed this again. In front of the computer and one of my mobile devices, was checking out someone making a friend request. Thank you, Robert, for being here. I appreciate you guys. And for those of you guys watching, you may be a little screwed up because my original Facebook profile, once again, is in Facebook jail. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, here's a tip. Don't tell people that you will throat punch them if they are blocking you from getting to your kid and saving them, because Facebook doesn't like that. So within 10 minutes of me posting that on a comment, somebody said, what would you do if somebody was stopping you from going inside that school to protect your kid? I said, I would throat punch every fucker that was in my way. 10 minutes later, I was in Facebook jail for 30 days again. So if you guys are a little confused, that's what's up. Go check me out on my alternate profile. Anyways, Scott, are you ready for this discussion tonight?
Christopher, I was born ready.
You were born ready. Born ready. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, massive mental health advocate and change attitude expert, Mr. Jacque Ecuyer. Jacque, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the Unfiltered Experience. Once again, you're a return guest, and we are excited to have here tonight for this passionate conversation that we hope that we can take what the three of us talk about here and impart some wisdom, impart some opportunities for the people that are watching and listening to this tonight to go out in their own world and be an advocate for change in their own families and communities. So welcome to the show tonight, brother. How are you?
Very good. A return guest. I like that. You guys are a glutton for punishment. And you keep bringing me on. So
nah, we love you, man. We love you. We love people that are unfiltered. We love people that are passionate, that are out there on the streets, boots on the ground, doing stuff. You recently started a new organization. Tell us about that organization and why you started it.
My organization, 4S for Life, is obviously it's based on mental health. It's attacking mental health on multiple levels in our community, and I'm in upstate New York. And I created on my own after my own battles through the mental health minefield, including being bullied, drug addiction, depression, and multiple suicide attempts. So I turned all of the pain into purpose, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes. And talk about it. Talk about that road to recovery. Talk about your mental health challenges and your journey and how you became the man you are today.
A lot of support. Actually, just reaching out and saying that you need support, just admitting that you need help. I mean, that's the biggest blocking point for anybody. They're just afraid, especially men, to ask for help. We're just so afraid that society is going to deem us weak or wimpy or whatever it may be, that you just need to, step up. I mean, that's my hashtag, man up, not shut up.
Yeah,
it's enough of us men being silent. We've been silent for too long and holding all this in, and it's time to just let it out and be okay with it. And we talk about this all the time. The three of us, we're all vulnerable men. We've all shared our feelings, whether it be laughing, crying, being pissed off, whatever. The wide spectrum. More men need to embrace that.
Jacque, this weekend, I just this past weekend I had a men's retreat just for 2 days. I wanted to make it gentle enough for people to come in and check it out. And every man who was at that event had a breakthrough. And through that breakthrough, there were tears, there was laughter, there was, shifts in their breath. They were like, wow, my breaths are just longer and deeper naturally without thinking. I don't know what's going on. And one of the things that I found from that was creating that safe space for men while still making it cool. I had steaks, I made ribeyes at night. Like I made it a men's environment with
Whiskey.
a very safe. Yeah. We didn't do drinking. Well, actually that's not true. We broke out one bottle of wine because one guy insisted. But the bottom line is, make it a safe place and literally guide them to spaces that for me, because I'm in practice of this, spaces that they haven't really been, and the breakthroughs are just waiting. And so when we see what happened in Uvalde, Texas, and we see what's happened across the United States, and we see the denial of what's going on, a big part of that is, without question, we could talk further about that, the ease of getting guns. But another big part of that is the inability for us to process emotions and be present in ourselves. I don't want to say, especially for men, but being a man, I can say that a little more. I don't want to say what women are feeling, but I can say this. I know, especially for men, we're brought up to be badasses, brought up to be tough. It is very difficult to go to another man and say, can you provide a safe space for me to move through my emotion and feel? I mean, it sounds insane. Like, hey guys, listen, I'm feeling really shitty. I've been giggling a lot. If you notice when the show started, I'm laughing, whatever, but I don't feel that. I feel a hell of a lot of sadness deep underneath me of what is going on in this world. And like you, Jacque, I bet it's covered with a massive layer of anger, and the sadness pushes up, and then the anger surfaces, and everyone's like, why are you acting like that? Whatever. That's my defense mechanism too. And so when we break through that and go underneath and we see that sadness and we release that mountain of just emotion, that's where those breakthroughs happen. So let's talk about that. Not everyone's going to go to a men's retreat. What kind of things can we start doing for the greater collective so we can move into spaces of safety, so we're able to ask, we're able to process emotion, we're able to be proactive in what Chris said earlier, be the change to avoid more stuff like what just happened in Uvalde, Texas, and not just people killing others, killing themselves. Jacque, you said it was suicide. It's all of it. It's all of it. What do we do?
Well, I think it was. And, kudos. I saw that men's retreat, and
Super
anything
fun.
like that is, and, even with the Man Up, Not Shut Up, I don't like to call it a support group. I call it a brotherhood. It makes it feel more, because you still have that masculine edge to it where it's, wow, it's a brotherhood. We all stand together. We all stand, by each other's side. And I think, that men's retreat, I'm actually planning one myself as well. And I think getting out and doing those things as a group, it's just like hanging out with your boys. You know what? It's like, hey, you get 5 best friends together, you're hanging out, you do mountain biking, you do, kayak, and you do mountain climbing. Yeah, you throw some breath work in there and meditate, but you don't tell them that they have to go. You just set it up where this is what we're offering. We'd love for you to come and, enjoy everything and experience everything that we're offering here. But that's totally up to you. And I think once we leave it up to them, and especially for men, to make the choice on their own rather than dictate to them what they have to do, that's a huge key to unlocking that door.
Mm-hmm. What have you found in the group since starting the brotherhood? Because I've been a part of that. What have you found in the group? What have been the common responses from the men coming into the group and recognizing what it is that you're trying to do for them and with them?
Well, it's funny that Scott brought up breakthrough. So I actually had, I'll just use one, for example. So he's about maybe early 30s. And I had run into him out one time. And convinced him to join the group because he was ex-army, dealing with PTSD, drinking 6 nights a week, marital problems, the old same thing that we hear from a lot of people that experience that. And we started talking, myself and my brother-in-law, who's a retired Marine as well, and I helped him come out of his shell, and he started really mentoring this younger man. We'll speed it up a little bit, and we ran into him 2 weeks ago. So this was 3 weeks after the initial conversation, and I run into him in the same place, and he's smiling. And I said, Tim, how's everything going? I can use his name because no one else is going to know him other than the 3 of us. And he goes, listen, I cut all the hard liquor out. I'm down to 2 days a week drinking. I said, that's great. That's little victories. That's what we want. Baby steps.
Yep.
He goes, I went and saw a psychologist. I'm taking a class for my PTSD. My wife and I are getting along better. I said, because, and the difference is, it goes back to what Scott's saying. We can tell men, or we can tell anyone, this is what you need. This is what you have to do, until you wake up and realize that you made the choice yourself. That, and that's what I said to him. I said, you woke up and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be better. And that's why you're where you're at now. And this kid's on top of the world right now. And it made me, like, I'm getting goosebumps now, because I had a part in making a difference in his life. And that's what we do our work for, right? Is to make a difference in people's lives and get them to see what we are trying to accomplish, not only as individuals, but as a community, especially on the mental health aspect.
So here's a question for you, Jacque, because we've got a lot of people, who are listening or who are going to listen to this. And we've all heard the old, cliche that you've got to hit rock bottom before you actually come to surface and make the choice for yourself. I don't like to fully believe that everybody has to do that. How can we get somebody who hasn't fully hit rock bottom, but is clearly suffering, to awaken to make that choice without forcing the need? Because there's things that I've definitely hit rock bottom on to make my shift. Chris, I'm in the same exact boat. Same thing, Jacque. We've had that, like, well, did we have to go here? Like, we all want to be able to help somebody at the halfway point to rock bottom when the need surfaces, without saying you need it. Just saying, would you like an invitation to this pathway? What are some tips, or what are some things that we can do to maybe inspire change before the rock bottom occurs?
That's a great point, Scott.
That is a great point, because I'll tell you what, with what you just said, I didn't want to hit rock bottom. I didn't want to be where I was until I came out. I don't think any of us did. And I think rock bottom is like the pits of hell. I mean, you don't want to be there. I just think that, and we don't want to, again, just say men, but we always talk about men. But I just think anybody, if you start feeling out of sorts in any capacity, something's just really bothering you, it's nagging, it won't go away, reach out to somebody. It doesn't have to be your wife or your husband. It could be a friend. It could be, a work colleague. It could be your son or daughter. It could be anybody, just to voice your opinion and say, listen, can we just sit down and talk? And what we all want to speak. You're a great speaker. Chris is a great speaker. I'm a great speaker. But you know what? You need to be a good listener.
Yep.
Amen.
We can sit here and spout off all we want, and not saying that it's not well documented and founded, but you know what? Sometimes people just want to say, will you shut the fuck up and just let me talk? And you know what? That's fine. And, I just think that if you start feeling, and I don't mean depressed or sad, just in anything is out of sorts, and you just don't feel yourself, it doesn't hurt to reach out to somebody. I mean, 90% of people do have a heart that are going to say, hey, yeah, I'll sit and listen to you. You may find one or two that are just like, don't want to be bothered with you, but don't let that turn you out. Keep going till you find that person that's going to listen to you. It's going to help you. That's what we're all doing, is aiding people on their paths. Everyone's path is different. My path isn't your path or Chris's path. We've all traveled different paths to get where we are. But if we can give them tools to help them along the way, I think we're making a step in the right direction.
Jacque, I don't know if you saw, but there's an amazing video that how, like, when you're thinking about something, the universe always plugs it in, whether it's through real life, social media, whatever. It's by Orvis, the company. It's like an REI type company, whatever, Orvis, but you can look it up. It's ORVIS.
Okay.
They have a video, and it says, what if they know? And it's a 12-minute video. It's like a movie. It won all these awards. I think it's called, I shared it on social media, but
I saw that.
Look it up. So it's like 12 minutes. If you haven't listened to it yet or seen it.
I'll definitely check it out.
So it's about a guy, okay, and he's telling his story, what if they know? And so he's a really well-known, fishing instructor. He teaches fly fishing. He's very successful, but he's bipolar. And so he's always on edge. What if I fuck up? What if I make a mistake? What if I have a manic head? So his whole life is just under stress. And he really wished he could just say, hey, if I start acting like this, no different than a diabetic, like, hey, give me an orange juice. But what it is, we see it so horrific. And the bipolar is one great example, because that's something that many people are, or have some degree of that, or anxiety, or depression, or whatever it is. But if we could just lead with our reality without judgment, and again, that's going to take some time, but that's a big question. What if they know? And so when we go ask and we're like, what if this is bigger than I think? What if this is just the tip of the iceberg? What if this is, I've got a family to feed. If my boss finds out, if they think I'm nuts, that's got to be a big factor. And then, so how do we circumvent that? Like, how do we go to somebody? How do we speak to somebody? How do we connect with the right people? Because listen, we've put up a freaking bravado and an identity that, hey, I'm superstar manager guy and I'm infallible and you can't touch me, or whatever we've decided we think we are. How can we go to a space of spirit and say this identity and this title doesn't mean shit? My sanity, my support, my love for others, my connection, my brilliance means everything. That's a really hard jump. So where do we go with that? I do want everyone to watch that movie, because if you know somebody that is anybody in that film, you're going to see someone in that film go, that's me, that's my wife, that's my friend. And you're going to see it's the best 12 minutes I've ever seen in my life. It's that good.
Damn. All right, I'm going to go find it and post it.
No, it's
here.
that good.
Yeah, right.
My wife watched it. My daughter watched it. It's that good. But so what do we do there? Because, we're asking people to take the leap. Yep. Don't wait to hit rock bottom, but at least rock bottom, you're shielded at that point because everything fell apart and you're like, well, fuck it. Now I have nothing to lose. How do we go with confidence knowing a little bit of our world might shift? A little bit of our world might break down to truly heal. It's a scary place for any of us.
Well, yeah. And I think what is our biggest roadblock as humans? Fear.
Yeah, fear.
Fear is our biggest roadblock in anything. We're always, if you want to go to another job, what stops us? We're afraid to walk out that door and take that step because we don't know what's on the other side of that door.
Oh yeah.
It's like a roundabout point, but I was talking to a buddy of mine a while back, and one of my biggest issues that I have with myself is I have a hard time losing people close to me. It's not the sort of the death aspect, but I've always had a hard time dealing with it. And it stems from losing both parents. My mom was 47 years old, died of breast cancer. My dad was 2013. I've lost multiple cousins to heroin overdoses. We can go down the list. I can't bring myself to go to wakes if there's someone close, and I have a hard time dealing with that. And I had bounced some ideas off a buddy of mine. And, he said, well, maybe you should go see somebody yourself. And this is going to go to your point. So I said to him, I go, wow, man, how's that going to look? I'm a mental health advocate and I'm out here preaching about everything. Now, isn't that sort of going to look weak if I go, man, I got to go out and see somebody about an issue? And he goes, no. And, I was looking at it like you just talked about, being scared of, holy shit. Like people like say Scott or, wow, what are they going to think of me, man? This guy's going in to see, I'll feel like Tony Soprano, like the icon. Well, no, the iconic guy. And he had to do it on the sly. And my buddy just said, listen, people are going to look even, stronger to you. They're going to back even more, realizing that someone on where you're talking from, that precipice, that you're going out and seeking help, even though you're helping everybody else. So lead by example. So I did that. I put some calls in and I'm going to go see somebody and I'm going to start talking about the issue that I have. And that's an issue. And I think that will resonate with people because of what we do, what the work that we're trying to do. They're going to look back and go, wow, these guys are all out here talking about all of this stuff and they're unloading all of their baggage out on society. And yet they're admitting that they still need help and they still need tools to help them comply with life. I think leading by example is a huge proponent, especially for men. I know we go back to that, but men are, I love
that.
Yeah.
That vulnerability is the strength. And just to answer Andrew's question, she was asking, what's the name again? To make it easy for you guys, I just actually shared it in the Unfiltered Experience page. So don't forget to go to the Unfiltered Experience. If you're not signed up and following us on that, do it. So I shared that video. It's called If I Tell Them. So think about how many of our brains right now are saying, if I tell them, in how many capacities, what about you starting to date somebody? If I tell them I was diagnosed with this, or sometimes I have manic episodes, or sometimes I have panic attacks, like we all hide something, right. And the truth is it's well-founded, it's a scary thing. Like if I say this, will they like me? And at the end of the day, you've got to slowly reveal your truth. It's just, how do you do that?
Well, and that's the thing too. I don't want, people that watch that are watching now or do this down the road. I have to say, from my personal experience, when I shared, and I'm going to use my suicide attempts, it actually slipped out on a live video when I was talking about something else, and I sort of stopped live and I went in my own head and said, you know what, I'm going to go with it, and I put it out there, and I'll tell you what. And it's not just because I'm saying my story is any different, but to share, your suicide attempts in front of tens of thousands of people on Facebook, and I let it go. And I woke up to the outpouring the next day of people that were not only close to me, but all across the world that, hey, I can't believe you did that. You're so brave. Or, hey, we didn't know. Every time we see you on these videos, you're smiling, like you said, you're laughing. And it goes back to the many faces of the clown. We can hide it well. People that deal with mental health can hide it very well.
Very.
So I think to those people out there that if you are suffering and you are afraid, don't be afraid. I'm not going to say that your experience is going to be the same as mine, but I'll tell you what, when I let that go, that was one of the biggest things I could ever get off of my chest. And man, it felt like 2 tons of shit. It just exuded off of me, and I felt so much better. And now I'm an open book about everything, because I shared one of my deepest, darkest secrets with tens of thousands of people. And there was more positive and negative that came out of it. So I'm going to tell those people out there, if you do share it, you may have some negativity. You may have people say you're weak, or I can't believe you did. But you know what? They don't matter. They don't matter. The true ones that matter are the ones that will support you, because 20% of all Americans, I looked this up earlier, are dealing with a mental health illness. So 20%, that's 1/5 of all American youth and adults deal with a diagnosed mental health illness. So you're not alone.
Yeah.
So true. And when you think about that, Jacque, and you think about your own personal experience, and thank you for being that way. That's the same way I've just been vulnerable and just told people, because people have come to me like, oh, you're always so positive, and you always got the answers. You always have so much energy. And I'm like, you don't see me the other 23 hours of the day. You see me for a little bit. You see me for a little part of it. You don't see the way that I struggle and everything else. And I've been honest with people. And then as a result, doing the clubhouse room, the men's clubhouse room for the last year, we've had so many conversations where people are like, wow, you're such a dude's do. And you guys are all tough, but you guys are sitting here being vulnerable and sharing your weakest moments. You're right. I mean, leading by example is so massively important. The question I have for you guys, I want to take a little turn on this. Thinking about what happened in Uvalde, Texas, and thinking about, the responsibility, like I said at the top of the show, the responsibility we all have as the component of mental health. We sit there and want to blame the government. The government's not doing enough for mental health. We need more of this. We need more of that. And thinking about it, is it our responsibility here, when we know somebody who is challenged with mental health, to maybe get them mental health help without them, actually being on board with it? So take the example, like if somebody knew that this guy was mentally challenged and he was thinking about blowing up a school or going and shooting people, do you guys feel it's a responsibility of the people that are close to them to notify authorities that if this guy is potentially dangerous and will cause harm to other people?
That's what
I'm frustrated with.
No, I know. And it's one of those tough calls, because if it's a family member, if it's your son, if it's your daughter, if it's your wife or husband, so now you're on that boundary of morals and what society, honestly, I think that if there was enough red flags, seeing that after what just happened, and we can go back to Sandy Hill and Columbine and right down the list.
Oh yeah.
I think son, daughter, white, whatever, I think I would have to, as much as it would hurt me. I mean, think how many lives you could save. And you're looking at 19 lives plus his grandmother that he shot before he actually went to the school. So 20 lives. And somebody mentioned, I can't remember where I watched it, said, well, there was no red flags. And I'm thinking to myself, what? I'm like, you got to be shitting me. The first red flag was an 18-year-old kid going into a gun store saying, hey, I need 2 semi-automatic weapons with extended cartridges.
It was 2 different times.
But with extended cartridges.
But that's what I'm saying, but 2 times. So there's 2 opportunities for whoever was selling it, then 350 units of ammo, I believe it was. The whole point is there's multiple. It's almost like, here I am. The old friends, like they were talking about, he was driving around the streets of Uvalde with a BB gun, shooting random people.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're the guy, someone's driving with him. Okay, obviously, if you're driving, he's doing that, you think it's funny, but it's kind of like we all have that friend, or we have a friend that I don't want to say is that crazy, but the one who kind of laughs a little like longer when the joke's over, and you're like, you're all right, bro.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wasn't that funny?
So I'm going back to like high school, and I'm like, hey, bro, that's not okay. Like, hey, I get it, but you can't drive, like, without sharing too much of like who it is. Like, I had a friend who was going in to become a policeman, and he was driving around one day, he just bought a new Mustang, and he's shooting stop signs. Okay, what's behind that stop sign? He thought it was funny. He's like, boo, boo, boo. And I'm like, stop, dude, stop.
Like with real bullets?
Real effing bullets. And the gun that was given to him, he was like becoming a police officer. And so my point being is he's no longer with us. So I'll just leave it at that. But the point being is that this kind of stuff, we have to call it out. We have to have the conversations. I don't know exactly who you turn people into, whatever it is. But I will say the one boundary is very simple. And it's something that's asked when people are going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. One of the big questions is, do you intend to do harm to yourself? Do you intend to do harm to others? Do you have, what is it, like, not dreams or thoughts of harming yourself or thoughts of harming others? So there's intention and thought. if that's a reality, like as soon as that comes up anywhere, maybe those are questions to ask a friend. Maybe we just say, hey, do you ever feel like harming others? Because if that's their norm and they say that, maybe we start asking questions when we see like weird behavior. Like, do you ever just want to hurt other people and go, I hear you? Just say, I hear you. You don't have to and then figure out where you go from there. Because I know this, I might be like, yeah, I get pissed off and I'm not really going to hurt somebody. That's my answer. Like, I don't want to go maybe get in a fight in a gym or something, but I don't want to shoot people in the face because I'm having a bad day.
Right.
So maybe we literally ask the question outright, because this kid was saying it. He was saying it to people on social media going, I'm going to let it fly. I'm going to let it rip. I'm going to go crazy. Yeah. So I think we're all like, whatever, like this guy's nuts. And that's it. You're right. Whatever, this guy's nuts. This guy's losing his shit. I mean,
those fuckers need to be held accountable. I believe
it's not easy. It's a shift in how we see and how we behave. I think what happens is we literally kind of go into shock, because let's say that we're all having a beer and one of us says something like, I'm going to go eat that guy's face. You're going to be like, all right, dude.
Right.
Well, what if I really am? Or I'm going to go shoot the fuck out of this place. These people suck. We might just laugh.
I'll be like, do you have a gun? That'll be my first question.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, like, this is what it is. Like when something's so outrageous, I think just the same thing where the cops like kind of froze and like took so long. I think we say what we'd do. We'd go fight. We'd do this. I think I know everything I would do. But I think sometimes things are so outrageous that we're like, what the fuck did he just say? Did he say he's going to just eat my face? And if he did, maybe we got to question the fact you can't be eating people's faces. You can't be shooting up malls. You can't I think that's really what it is. I think it goes from he's just being crazy because we can't even conceptualize. And that's probably where the issue is, that we have to start to normalize questions and trust what people are saying and move on that trust.
Well, I think what Chris, I think what Chris said, and the thing that's different for the three of us talking about this is that we're a little different than the average person because we sort of know a lot of the warnings. You know what I mean? Like, I think we would catch on, and it's not to say that we're better than anyone else. I'm just saying from what we've done, the work that we've done,
hyper aware.
We're definitely going to catch on to things. And I think rather than even turn somebody in, I think we're going to try our best to do, on our own to help those individuals, whoever that may be. So, I think that's, for the average person, that's a tough call. I mean, I agree with sort of what Scott says about, maybe in that moment, like we don't believe that it's really going to happen. How many times, like you said, is somebody, I'm going to go punch this dude in the face, I'm going to go knock his fucking teeth, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever, dude. Same thing.
Well, punching somebody's one thing, but saying they're showing pictures of guns and stuff like that.
But see, here's the thing.
I'm personally so fired up that they should be responsible for it, because where's the accountability? Oh, I knew that person was going to do that. I knew, like, they're just sitting there fucking like, oh, I'm so sorry, but they didn't do shit to do it.
How do we define that? Because I agree with you, Chris, but I'm trying to put myself in situations where people have said batshit crazy stuff. The problem it's so normalized. We live in a batshit crazy world. Where's the gauge? And that's why I'm saying maybe what we do is, we talk about, we need to learn about finance in schools, emotional health management, all these things. Maybe there's a certain criteria of questions we start asking people because think of this. If I'm about to go to, like I said, I'm about to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or somebody's about to do that. What if we're kind of learning as a collective to ask those kind of intake type questions as kids? So when a kid's sitting here and you're saying, do you feel like killing yourself? Like if the kid says, I really want to die, and go, well, what would you do about that? And even like as kids, if we start asking questions that will guide people, then we can say, hey, Mrs. Barnes, I think Stephen needs help. He's not feeling good. He feels like, I know it sounds nuts, but is it? I think we've come so far that we're like, nah, everything's fine. That the outcome is everything has not been fine for this individual. And we've just said, he's a guy, he's fine. She's just crying because she's a girl, all this stereotypical bullshit, and then boom. So to avoid the boom, this has to start way back when, not just sitting at a bar going, you're really going to eat people's faces? Or is this a joke? For some reason, I'm just hooked on that eat people's faces thing.
Yeah, I know. He's making me nervous. Thank God he's in
It just felt right to say it. Oh, maybe that's the problem. Maybe
do you use barbecue sauce, Scott? Let me ask this. Scott, do you eat barbecue sauce, or are you a ranch guy?
I like a spicy barbecue that's real peppery, personally.
Okay.
Let's start calling him Spicy Scott. Spicy Scott. Well,
what's been your experience, Jacque? You've obviously ran into some of these people. Have you ever ran into somebody you're like, okay, do I report this guy or not? Because I understand that it's a very difficult situation, but at the same time, there's got to be some accountability. There can't be just always blaming everybody else for why it's happening when it's happening in our own houses, in our own homes. It's like, I didn't know Jeffrey was in his bedroom making bombs. I didn't know Jeffrey was on. I mean, what the fuck is that? Those parents should be held accountable. Like, if you know, you can report it anonymously. I mean, when we think about that, I mean, the mental health, we're so fearful of saying shit. The cancel culture, like, I don't want to say anything. It's not my place. You know, it's not my responsibility. Then all of a sudden we're all, oh, let's pray for these people. What the fuck are we going to do about it? What are we proactively going to do about it in the situation moving forward? And the people that are watching and listening to this, we want to inspire them to be able to say, okay, here's something you can do. Like you said, Scott, asking questions. But the personal accountability and responsibility for knowing that somebody's out there that potentially could do harm. Like, I didn't really think he was going to do it. Well, guess what?
I would feel worse not seeking help for that individual than being on the other end of that after they just shot 19 people and feeling like shit, going, man, I could have stopped that. Like, I could have at least helped to try to prevent this, or maybe taken the steps to get this person the help they needed. So if you're looking from that vantage point, if I had to live with one or the other, I'd rather have someone be pissed off at me that I went and got them help behind their back than have them come out and commit that horrific scene that just happened in Texas. So there's your answer to that question you just asked.
And Jacque, another point on top of that too, you know, we were sharing a quote before we got on air. We were talking about that importance of when we have kindness and compassion for all, that's how love gets spread. And so I think if we come at that from a compassionate, kind point with the intention that we're in service to that person, we're not doing it as some like penalty. I'm not saying, hey, you're messed up. I'm saying, hey, I want to see you healed. I don't want to see you have to live like this because I know this doesn't feel good for you. I can see the pain. If you're coming at it literally as a person who wants to see a healed world, then that's going to spread love. So there's no downside to it. There might be some friction in the moment, but there's going to be friction in the change of this universe as we make this a better place to be existing. Mm-hmm. So it has to happen. I don't think there's any other way. I think you're on point.
Well, I mean,
Erin says it right here. She says, it says, absolutely yes. If I heard someone say those things, I would act. However, there is a fine balance between someone saying something crazy and someone doing the crazy with multiple other red flags. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
There might be some like a certain amount of flags we need to see before we do it too. Because everybody says something nuts. You know, right. Sometimes I'd say dude, I want to just fucking kill that person. There's babble. And then there's, I want to kill that person. Mm-hmm. And here's how. And I wrote a letter about it and have 7 posts about it. That's starting to get a little more real.
No, I agree. I don't mean to laugh, but that's true.
No, because we all say something dumb.
Well, Chris brought up, but this whole thing has been a blame game. Society's a blame game. Everyone's got to blame somebody. So now we're going down this road where we're going to blame guns and we're blaming mental health. There's not one singular thing that led to this. Okay, right. It's a combination of things. We are talking about mental health because that's what we do, but no sane individual gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to go buy a gun and shoot up a school. Okay. I don't care. Whoever wants to disagree with that. You don't just wake up one day and get the thought, hey, I'm going to go shoot up a school. It doesn't happen. Planned. I'm sorry. It doesn't happen.
And those are smart people. So where is the mental health in that? I was reading a study on it before. I'm not going to quote it, but it was saying there, it was talking about the fact that if it's mental health, these people are cognitively aware of the planning and the preparation and the scoping of the school and everything. Like, is that mental health or is that intention? Like, what is your definition of mental health in this situation, Jacque? Because you're foremost an expert on it. When I think about that, it's like, was the guy mentally ill or was he fucking just like in his brain and that's what he wanted to do?
Well, I mean, again, I think there's signs, and if you've dealt enough with people with depression or addiction or suicidal ideologies, you know, there's red flags that the normal person doesn't catch on to. And I always use this example of, say if your child comes home one day and he's like, Dad, I don't want to eat dinner tonight. So we'll automatically just slough it off as he might have a stomach bug and we send him on his way. Okay. Say your kids play football every year and he comes to you and says, hey, Dad, I'm not really feeling playing football, this year. You know what? Maybe he just lost interest. We always shove everything off as, well, it's just this. It's just that. It's just that. We have to stop with the just this, just that shit. Amen. And dig deeper and come out and talk to your children. And I'm using children because that's what we're talking about. Sit down with them and say, hey, listen, is everything okay? Is everything going all right with school? Let's have that discussion. Let's take 15 minutes out of our busy schedule, quote unquote. We should never be too busy for our children. That's the bottom line. And I don't think we dig deep enough. Or if it's something we don't want to hear, we shut down conversations with our kid. If they give an opinion, you're like, that's it. You know what? Conversation's ended. Go to your room. You know what?
I got a question for both of you guys, and I want to throw ourselves under the bus here because we don't do enough of that.
We do it.
Let's each give you guys lead. What are the top 5 things that you think? Just give your list, and then we can talk through it. What's the list of the top 5 things that contributed to Uvalde, Sandy Hook, all of these things? Like literally top 5 points, and let's talk through that because again, we've all said one thing. It's not one thing. What do you think of the top 5? Put them in an order that you think. Just throw through it.
Ooh, in an order? Oh, man, I don't know if it's
it doesn't have to be a perfect order. It doesn't have to be a perfect order.
Well, there's an SAT question, Scott.
No. The reason I'm asking this is because everyone's coming with one thing. Sure. And I'd like to see if we can walk through the balance of let's pick these things and walk through them together. Because I'd like to see if we could just kind of put the ingredients together and show what simultaneous work and 5 issues could potentially look like. Because here's the deal. Everyone's going, if we do this, okay, anytime you do one thing, it's kind of like building a dam, but only building the middle. It's going to come around the sides. Like you've got to build the whole thing at once. So what are the 5 ingredients that could seriously reduce what's going on in this world in the United States now? Not like an example of, well, we could be like Denmark, or why does Australia work and what's different over there right now in the U.S. as a whole?
Well, I mean, obviously 2 of the things are going to stand out right away are going to be gun control and mental health. I mean, we already know that. I think your social inequalities with people. I think, the way you're brought up financially and otherwise. I think your home life, if you've had any kind of abusive in any capacity, just home life in general, I think the way you're brought up has a lot to do with, or could have a lot to do with this. Now I got to get a 5th one. Chris isn't helping at all. I just dropped 4, and I'm waiting for Chris to chime in. Chris,
I'm letting you listen. I'm listening.
Oh man, I'm trying to get the 5th one, but I think there's at least good 4 ones that I can think of off the top of my head.
4's good. 4's good. I'm not pushing. We'll pop more. Chris,
I'll think.
I think the first one that comes to my mind is love. Like I said before, the self-love aspect. If people have love and significance in their life, are they really going to be that troubled to go out there and want to hurt other people? So like you said, to your point, Jacque, the home life and what's going on in home, that's the first responsibility. That's why I was saying, if we know people that are in our families and our extended communities who are suffering and thinking this way, then we have a moral obligation, an ethical obligation, a legal obligation, really to either get those people help or to find help for them. I think number 2, to your point, if mental health, if all the politicians are sitting there espousing it's mental health, all these fucktards out there saying this, which is true, then what are we as a community doing to hold these politicians accountable to say, okay, what mental health bills have you passed? What mental health opportunities have you had? We have access to guns. We don't have access to mental health care. It's an issue. They keep reporting it and saying it, but what the fuck are they doing about it? The other problem is the fact that the society has created this stigma, like you said before, about weakness, about being vulnerable. These people in the schools and the houses and everything else need to start teaching these kids that it's okay to say that you're in trouble. It's okay to say you're in need. It's okay to open your mouth and let people know that. I think the other aspect of it really is the role that quote unquote news media has to play in this.
That's what I thought Jacque was going to drop in, was that one.
What they're doing and what they're espousing is fucking crap. No matter who you listen to, it's all bullshit. It's all perpetuated on the fact that fear causes them to make money. So when you think about the deep-rooted issue of here, you have 50 senators, like Chris Murphy said, from the Senate floor the fucking night this happened. I was blown away. He's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're politicians in this world that can make change. We have a bill that would require universal background checks, but these fucking senators are so deep in the pockets of NRA that they're saying no, we have to protect this bullshit. So I think it has to start with us. Again, it has to go back to us to sit there and hold our politicians accountable for the promises that they make and the lies that they do. I know I'm pointing the finger right at myself in my local community. I want to change the world, but in my local community, do I have a voice? Do I have an opportunity? Do I have a vote? Actually, I have this thing. It's called a vote. It's called an election. So I could sit there and look at my elected officials and sit there and take responsibility for if they make a campaign promise to say that we're going to, invest in mental health in the kids in the elementary schools and do these things, then we should hold them accountable what we do. And I'm pointing the finger at myself. Oh, okay. I'm going to go on to my next thing. So I think the biggest issue is that it starts with us, and starts with us holding those people accountable and finding out what the fuck's going on.
Well, it's a problem though. You're not going to, trying to hold. And I just had a discussion with somebody that deals with the assembly here in New York earlier. I just had a chance meeting. You never know who you're going to meet. Right. And as soon as I brought up mental health, he's like, "Thank you," because he goes, "Well, because gun control is the easier issue. They're going to take the easy out. It's easier to talk about gun control and to sit there and try to control us with, hey, you can own a gun, you can't own a gun, then talk about mental health because it's a taboo topic and nobody wants to fucking address it." I had a parent the other day in the gym tell me, I can go where, I forgot where he was. He might have been in Texas, but he was somewhere he went away. He goes, I could buy my daughter a shotgun quicker than I could find her a psychologist.
Yep.
Oh, God, yeah.
That is fucking awful.
Texas is 50th in mental health.
I read that earlier. I read that.
If somebody's on Medicaid or Medicaid, like a kid's on Medicaid. So watch this. You have a panic attack at school. You're losing your shit. You're waiting a year to see somebody. 6 months minimum in Texas. Yeah. So you have a breakdown. You're losing your shit in 6 months, but I could buy a gun the same day without anybody thinking twice because I've never been diagnosed as whatever. It's absolutely insane. And Abbott's sitting here saying mental health, and saying we don't need guns. We need more guns. We need to fortify or harden the schools. I mean, listen, I'm listening to this. These are the same people that wouldn't invest in the Go Love Now program into schools. You know why they said? I'm going to just walk through this. They have a program already called No Place for Hate. Okay, listen to that. There's no place for hate. There's 3 operative words for there. No place and hate. 2 of those words are negative. Exactly. So what do you think kids hear when you say no place for hate? You said it earlier with needs. If I say, hey, Jacque, you know what you need to do? You're going to go, you need to shut the fuck up. So when I come into a school and there's tough kids in the school causing trouble and I say no place for hate, they're going, I'm going to hate some shit hard.
Yep.
And I walk in, I say, Go Love Now. What do you think they do at first? They laugh at me and they go, what do you know? And then I tell them my stories and they're like, bro, man, I hear you. You're lit, bro. And these gangster kids are taking their hoods off, hugging me. And so the problem starts up top with people who are being funded by the NRA for this shit, won't support mental health, want to make sure we have standardized tests, but won't do anything to increase what Chris talked about with self-love. And it's all bullshit. And there's one more thing that drives me crazy that we haven't added to the list.
Bring it.
Almost, I don't want to say everybody. I try not to do these like big, okay. So many people I am hearing are coming back and saying the same thing. Religion, more Jesus, more this, more that, more this. Listen, hold on a second. If you really believe in Jesus, or you really believe in God, or you believe in anything, you were created in the image of. You are a fractal or a perspective point of this God. So why are you saying thoughts and prayers instead of thinking or meditating into action?
Action.
You are the change. This is not fucking rocket science. So Chris said this to start. You've echoed this, Jacque. The minute we start to say, I'm going to do something today in my own community because I'm tired of this bullshit, that's when change happens. And we're getting there because I'm seeing people stepping in. My favorite is I don't even know if I like Beto. At least he got up and told Abbott to F off. And told Paxton
awesome.
F off.
That's so good.
Listen, I don't even know that I like him. You know, when someone comes up and I'm like, I'm glad you said that. I don't know if I like you yet. Right. But I do like what he said because it was truth. Maybe he's not the person to do it. You know, it's kind of like Biden coming in. Listen, Trump's disgusting, period. I don't care what. I'm tired of listening to the being in the middle of this stuff. He's a disgusting human being, and he's a mirror for too many people. Yeah. I'm not saying Biden's the solution by any means. Right. But what I will say is I'm glad Trump's not there. Now we got to fix the bleeding at hand, no question. But here's the reality. That man was a demon. And those people who are sitting being mirrors to him and saying, oh, what, you don't like bad words? You don't like this? You've got to be kidding me. This shit that's going on right now is because of the stuff that was coming out of people like his mouth. It's filthy and it's echoed and it's in society now. That's in society. And I'm
very
tired
pervasive.
of it.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Here, I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys something here real quick.
No, that's all right. You can fire it up.
Let me show you something. This is something I found. This is on, I I can't remember what the website, you guys can see it up there a little bit. So this is, it says gun violence makes US an outlier, not mental illness. So this is interesting. This is relative to other OECD countries. I think they're developed countries. Here's the mental health aspect, and here's the shooting aspect. So mental health I think this is the blue part is mental health disorders per 100,000. And this one's all firearms related to per 100,000. I think this is from 2017. And it talks about, okay, so mental health issues, 2133, mass shootings at that time, 559. And these are developed countries. So 2022 over here, France, 83. Sweden, 2011, 52. I mean, so you can see, so in a sense, it is saying that the fact that we're not doing anything about gun control, but at the same time, what are we doing about the mental health aspect of it? And I think that is something that we need to key in upon. And I think that also the fact that the responsibility of the fact that it's, we want to blame everybody else, but we can take the responsibility in our own house, in our own communities.
Sure.
This is something I've even been pointing the mirror at myself. And I've talked to Scott about this. Like, I want to go out there and save the world, but I don't even know my neighbors. Yeah. So I'm thinking like, okay, I'm on the board for Help Heal Humanity. I'm thinking about community for humanity, like walking around to my neighbors and saying, hey, listen, I'm a coach. I can do these things. I can help you. If there's ever a situation, like trying to help our local communities. What do you guys think about that? Like grassroots, like fuck the government, everything else, like grassroots. We go out there and help our own communities.
Nextdoor.com. I mean, it's already started for you. Go to Nextdoor and just say, hey, why don't we have an ice cream social? We did it. We had an ice cream social. We do it every year. My wife started. I'm not taking credit. It's an ice cream social for all our neighbors, and we invite the police. So the police tell how they work in our community. It's insane. And now we know the police, we know all our neighbors, so I can steal shit and I don't even get in trouble because they're my friends. It's perfect. It's perfect. Did I just say that out loud?
I think you did. Somebody heard it.
Okay, everything was true until I let my last silly comment.
Yeah, well.
That's how you started right there. What do you think, Jacque? I mean, it's working here.
Listen, I'm all for it, and it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine, actually one of the other guys he's on my chair committee for my nonprofit, and I said, man, we really got to do something. So what we're thinking of doing is hosting a demonstration, a rally right here. I haven't brought it up yet. I have to contact the police department. And it's just going to be all on mental health. And we're going to bring everybody together, and it's inviting the whole community. I want people to bring their kids out, and I want families to come out, educators to come out, almost like an outdoor assembly. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring speakers up that deal with mental health and how we can address it, things that we can change, the way we can address it in our community. So I'm already working on that already, and I think it's going to be huge right here in my community. So Scott, I'm on it.
You know what I was just thinking? That's where you show that movie. So you actually have a movie that because there's nothing a kid can watch that. And it's just saying, hey, this person's suffering. How do we, and it's showing different characters. Yeah. Once you watch it, you get one of those big blow up screens or whatever, watch the movie, have a few speakers. It's only 12 minutes. So even ADD me can get through 12 minutes. Actually, I got through 10 and then I fought through the last 2, but I did it.
Well, so, the way I was looking at it too is, and the reason I want families and kids there is because kids are going to see how us as adults handle situations like this.
Amen.
Yeah. And if we lead by example and we show them that we can come out and they may not understand all the jargon and all the talk, but you know what, at the end of that, when you have a moment of silence together, you're going to have a we are the world moment. And if people want to say it's kumbaya, I don't give a fuck. That's the whole point. You want to have like that somber moment after like 9/11 shit where everyone bonded together and held hands or hugged or whatever. Let our kids see that. Let them see fucking men hugging other men. Let them see black and white and gay and straight hugging. Who gives a shit? Because they are going to remember that 30, 40 years from now, if this happens again, they're going to be like, you know what? Mom and dad and all these other guys, they got together and they fucking love. It's going to go back to Scott's word, spreading the love, sending it out there, putting it out there. So that's the goal behind what I'm trying to do here. And when I get it going, I'll let you know because I'm going to get it live on the news and everything else. So
Jacque, it's a super powerful, fun thing to do too, is you do kind of like a scrum, like football, rugby scrum, and have everybody with their hands on their backs and stuff and make it super masculine. And you go in and you kind of like make it a dance and have every man just kind of like make a vibration from their chest because you all feel it. And it's a crazy feeling where you're all like,
what's that one? What's that? The one they do? Yeah, like
a haka, dude. It's like a haka, but just everybody make their sound because I'm telling you, there's an intensity, the vibration, and we don't ever do that and hug another man. I've been part of stuff like that where I'm going, I'm like, you want to yell louder because you're like, this feels good. And you're almost like being tough with men going, this is like a man hug that's better because we're vibrating. And it seems silly, dude. It is intense, and it lets you realize how powerful your collective energy is. It's the kind of thing where if you see that in the news, it could be, it's a Kodak. I go old school. I call it a Kodak moment. I guess it's probably called an Insta moment nowadays.
Well, I said this to Chris. I think I don't think you were on when I talked to Chris about it. I'm still trying to get it because I hadn't heard back from Serena yet. And it was all about doing it in different areas. Chris, you'll remember when we talked about this, but I'm talking. Right. So what our plan was, and I talked to Chris and he was on board, and we can bring this up again because we can still do this. Everyone that wants to do it, and it includes men in the group, Lee Height and the rest of the gang and everybody is to have one of these events in your own area. So what we want to do is you get with your media. So Sky, you do it in Texas and Chris, and we try to pinpoint it. So almost about the same time, we have the national news just go, you know what? We're going to shoot the different areas across the United States where everyone is having this moment of togetherness. And I'm going to tell you what, if you do that, hey, this is Christopher Rausch out in California, and this is Scott Goyette down in Texas, and I'm here, and Serena's wherever she is, and Mary Kay's in listen, that could be one of those moments that people will remember like fucking big time.
So we need to jump on board. There's a group that I'm friends with, and they were actually on our show, Chris, if you remember. Oh God, I'm forgetting. Remember the woman and the man? Oh goodness gracious.
Captain and Tennille?
Captain and Tennille, there you go. It was so they're friends of mine. I'm blanking on them. They have an organization called the Compassion Games.
Oh,
and there's a couple, remember? So a couple days a year, they do exactly that. They already have a network all over the world who are prepared to support this. So what we need to do is tag on because it's Zoom based. They have people. I mean, dude, they have people like, like monks from this place, this like high priestess from this place, this like very famous. I've been part of it. It's insane.
And just so you know, I had no idea before I brought that up. Just so you know, this has just been something I've been thinking about in my own.
Oh yeah, but the beautiful thing is this has come up in different talks, and then they materialized it and brought it together. So all we'll do is we'll
Summer Raymer.
Summer and John Raymer. Thank you so much, Summer and John Raymer. I apologize for getting your names because you're good friends. They live up in Washington State, right near Vancouver. They grow across the way. But so the point is, let's jump onto that. It's called the Compassion Games. Anybody here who's not been a part of the Compassion Games, go research it, look it up. When they're having those special days, what we can do is we can, first of all, even if we can be part of it via Zoom, because there's thousands of people, all the sessions are recorded, but there's moments where collectively we all come together and say, I want pure peace in the world and in my heart and in my soul. And if we're doing that simultaneously with pure intention, there is a shift in this world because of our intention. So let's all align together. Let's not make it like fractalized. Let's go deep together.
Because think about it, the movements that made a difference. Think back in the movement. We Are the World. We can go back. Hands Across America. I mean, even you can even go down to Million Man March. They stood together. All those black men stood together and unified. And that's what it is. It's strength in numbers. When Chris was talking about how do we attack our assembly and our centers, we have to do it in numbers. We have to get people that are in these fields, such as the three of us and all the people that we deal with, and stand together and say, we're fucking not taking this shit anymore. We need to advocate more for this.
We have to.
And it's just, it's one of those. So let me just share something because Chris gave me homework to look up some stuff. I'm just going to, because we're talking about mental health, and I just wanted to bring up one of these. So one of these was done, it's called research by, his name is Dr. Ira Glick. He's from the Stanford University School of Medicine. They took 35 mass shootings to analyze, and out of the 25 out of the 35 had mental illness diagnoses. 18 were schizophrenic. The other 10 were bipolar, delusional disorders, personality disorder, or substance-related disorders. So for the people that are watching, that's from a Stanford University of Medicine, that was, and I'm not saying that's the cause. I'm just trying to defend our mental health aspect of it, that this is a problem. And it also goes on to say that, outside of the mental illnesses, it goes along with lack of social capital, which we talked about, and male pressure to conform with societal stereotypes. Ooh. So, I mean, I did my homework, Chris. I'm getting good at this. This was in 20 minutes, man. I was banging out stats. And the other thing that resonated with me is it said the U.S. can certainly decrease the rate of shootings with increased mental health resources. And one of the big things that I think we can do is that health class that we all took in school, which is bullshit, that doesn't talk about anything. Why don't we substitute that and put a mental health class in there?
Amen.
You know, why don't we go in and say, you know what, no more health
management.
class and showing the sex tape with the penis and the vagina. Why don't we get in and start getting into the depths of mental
How to
health?
process your emotions.
Exactly. Look at
That's
the
it.
difference that can make in a school. Why are we not doing that?
Jacque, I
Because it
literally teach
fulfills
that
the-
through Go Love Now. I have a full process to teach it, and guess what happens? I go in. So I'm going to tell you why we're not teaching that. This is the ultimate irony. The teachers are overwhelmed. They're freaking exhausted. They're forced to give these standardized tests. And when I walk in, guess who gets emotional? Well, they're sitting on the outside of the program, and I'm guiding emotion. I'm walking people through literally opportunities to be ashamed, to be fearful, to be scared, to be sad, to be angry. And they're bawling, they're snot running out of their faces, and they're literally embarrassed because I've tapped all their triggers, and they're saying, this is overwhelming, the kids can't handle it. And I'm like, oh,
Who can't handle it?
Yeah,
exactly.
the kids can't handle it.
No,
kids are resilient.
The kids are crying. So, Jacque, you're going to get a kick out of this. No, you won't get a kick out of it. You'll just be disgusted by it. I actually had a school. I went into one of the schools. A girl came up to us as soon as we finished speaking. We spoke to over 2,500 kids throughout the day. And one of the kids came up and said, I have a suicide note. I was going to kill myself. I'm not because of you. Whoa. That next day and the end of that day, and we had this happen multiple times. I'm just giving one example.
Yeah.
That next day and that day, I think it was 70 kids said that they had considered suicide and they need someone to talk to. So this is what happened. The principal said, this is too overwhelming for the kids. We can't be doing this because we don't have the ability to manage it. I'm like, do you think that just today, what you think what I said caused these kids to want to kill themselves? I'm like, these kids are finally ready to talk and heal, and you're going to put them back into a box and compartmentalize to get them the fuck out of your high school. You disgust me. That's the roadblock right there.
That is.
Yeah.
Okay,
but,
so at least we're on the same page.
Oh, we are. But in the defense, there's 250 students for every one counselor. So when those 70 kids go, the counselors can't handle it. But they've got to figure that out because those kids are all thinking that, and they're saying, we're fine, we're fine, we're fine. You are not fine. You're ready for a school shooting internally or externally. You're ready for suicides. It's all ready to happen. You're hanging on by a thread, and I'm literally handing you the solution, but you're going to say, we can't do it because we have STAR tests, and Abbott's trying to make money for some other bullshit. It's all trash, dude. The solutions are sitting there. We have access to them. We have programs in place, and they're not utilizing them. Period. This is not rocket science. And this is one person who can figure this out. What about when you bring hundreds and thousands of collective minds to solve? It's crazy this shit is not happening.
No, I agree totally. I had the same issue bringing my anti-bullying camp. I finally got it into all the schools. And once I sat down and they heard what I had to say, they were like, yeah, man, we can't wait for you. So I'm actually developing my own program to start the school year next year off with 5 different school districts.
We still have to talk about that because I have shitloads of great content, and we can talk about how far you want to push and what they're willing to receive.
So I understand that, the roadblocks, which I never understood. But, when we go down this list of, and I had a couple points on not only the mental health aspect, but the gun control type of thing, and certain things, because Chris said, how can we can affect change rather than just say, hey. So I think a couple things we can do. Number one is when you go in to buy a gun, I think you should have to pay a psychiatrist to evaluate you and write off that you are competent enough to own a handgun. You know what? You're going to have people slip through, and people are going to say that. But you know what? You are going to put a huge dent in the amount of people out there that should not own guns, but make them pay for it. Go see a psychologist.
I sold my gun when I wasn't feeling well because I literally was in a space where I said, I should not have a gun. And I literally sold my gun.
Wow.
Because I was saying to myself, like, I bought it to protect my family. I'm like, if bad things happen, what if, like, I was concerned? I was just going, my brain doesn't feel right. And anything, I don't want anything right. And listen, the odds of me doing something were pretty much 0 and none. But that's my brain. I'm always looking out for shit. The funny thing is, I'm so confident enough to sell the gun, I'm probably fine. But the point being is, that's how I see things. I think we have to put ourselves through a lot before we can say that I can have a gun around me or my family or anybody. It's a lot.
Well, I think that's
responsibility.
So I think that's one thing. The other thing to address security in the schools, and I've said this since Sandy Hill, you have enough retired military and veterans out there that are trained Give them the jobs. Put them in security. You don't need a hall monitor. Put these ex-military guys, not the ones obviously that have PTSD, but the ones that are legitimate.
They've got to be psychiatrically.
They do, but I mean, you go through the process. That's fine. But you're talking about people that are know how to handle conflict, hand-to-hand combat, how to, I mean, they are trained. You can't send Joe Smith in who works out in his local gym and thinks he's not going to do something, because it's not going to happen.
Or give teachers guns.
Yeah,
give teachers guns.
No, if you have someone in there that knows how to handle crisis intervention, those type of things, that's what you need. And there are a lot of respectable veterans out there that would take that job in a heartbeat. I know a ton of them here that would sign up for that job immediately.
I agree with that, and I get scared because working at a college here in Texas, they were making a big push saying that we need to start being armed as teachers. So we were at meetings about it. And I'm looking around the room, and I'm thinking,
you got Barney Fife in the room.
No, I'm telling you exactly what I'm thinking. If I'm a psychotic student, and I know this teacher has a gun, it's not going to be in their hand aimed. It's going to be in a briefcase or whatever. If I come in, and I tell you right now, I'm one of the younger professors. I'm 51, but I'm much younger in spirit. There's not a single person in that room I couldn't have taken that gun away and just beat them down with it, never mind pulling the trigger. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm an angry student, what are you possibly going to do with this gun? And it was proven. We saw it in Buffalo. We saw it in Uvalde. Like, you could be trained and still get taken down. And you're going to put a 60-year-old woman or a 60-year-old man who's never done anything athletic in their life, you're going to tell them to bring a gun in? Are you shitting me?
Not the answer. No.
Not only that, I mean, if you're gonna tell the kids that your teacher has a gun,
they know.
Listen, who's the first person? If they're on that, who's the first person you're gonna shoot? You're not gonna give them a chance to go for the gun. You know they have a gun.
Yeah, what you have to do is you have to have a really badass 9-year-old, and I'm being funny and stupid.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but
like the one who you least expect, and he comes up behind you, he's like, no, but I'm kidding. But the joke, like, the reality is, you're right. Like, now there's a new rule. Like, why do they go in the side door? Because they know the front door's locked. Why? Like, it can't be obvious.
We as Americans give up it's sort of like if you go back to when we were looking for Saddam Hussein, okay? Same thing. We warned them, okay? That's like going, hey, you know what? We're coming to get you. What'd you think he was going to do? Not hide? He's going to stand out and wait for us? I mean, come on. That's like I didn't get that. It's like me saying to Scott, hey, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to kick the shit out of you before I do it. And then I'm going to do it.
Yeah. No, you just walk up to me at school and knock me out. Like, you don't sit here and have a conversation to get me all prepped.
We're not going to talk now and go, hey, Scott, when I come visit Texas, I'm going to find you. Like, you're not going to prepare for that and wait. Hey, he's flying in today. You're all ready for me. See?
Show the hell up.
I
know, dude.
It's just, but I'm thinking that if we did have qualified, like you said, yes, of course they have to pass tests, but those are the people that are trained in crisis situations, like that Border Patrol agent. Who's not giving him kudos? You had 40 fucking police guys out there and a SWAT team that couldn't breach that fucking school and take that dude out. One dude that was a Border Patrol agent went in and took fucking 2 or 3 shots, one in the leg, somewhere else, and he's the one that took him out. I commend that dude. That dude has got balls. That is a true fucking hero right there. That guy right there.
Yeah.
Amen.
And to the point too, there should be a psychological test. If you're going to put a few people in a school that can do that, that's fine. So you have a couple Chuck Norrises in the school, but it's not a librarian, every teacher. It's got to be specialized. So yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's something that obviously you can filter through and go through it, but it's just a thought of when we say, well, there's nothing we can do. Well, stop hiring the fucking guy that hangs out at Cumberland Farms, smoking cigarettes to be your hall monitor and wonder why you don't have anything going on in the school.
Amen.
That's all I'm saying. Just put some effort into this. We're not putting any effort into any of this. And that's why we're not learning. And the bottom line is, and I'll leave you with this, is that when you have a problem with your car, we'll just say, Chris, you have a problem with your truck and you take it into the guy to get your brakes fixed. They're going to fix the brakes. Now, 2 weeks later, you have another noise. They're going to go in, they're going to change something because they know what they didn't do the first time, fix it. So we're going to adapt and we're going to change it. What have we learned? We have Columbine. What'd we learn? Nothing. What happened? Sandy Hill. What'd we learn? Nothing. What happened? Uvalde, on top of all the other ones. I'm just bringing those 3 up because they say the same fucking thing, these politicians on the thing. There's no answers. They roundabout bullshit, and then it's guns are the problem. We have to stop. You can't own a gun. Shut the fuck up. Seriously. Really.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what a passionate conversation. We've been going for an hour and 3 minutes, hour and 4 minutes. Thank you guys all for being here in the comment section, the fans. You guys are awesome. I love what Aaron says right here. Be love.
Oh,
Absolutely,
that's all we
guys.
need. That's all we
She's
need.
like, bring on the love frequency. Absolutely. Tour of love. Absolutely. You know, it's ultimately about us taking responsibility for our own mental health, our own conditioning, our own processes, and being an advocate for change in our own communities and holding our politicians accountable for the bullshit going on. I know for me personally, I want to understand why there's 50 senators saying that there shouldn't be universal background checks. The fact that this guy can go down the street and buy a semi-auto assault rifle, but he can't buy a beer. It's like,
Right.
Why do we need an assault rifle? When you look back on the Constitution, you look back on what the founding fathers of this country said, you know, we want to protect ourselves. You know, who needs an AR-15 to go out there and shoot targets? Who needs an AR-15 to go shoot camels or fucking whatever you shoot? That's a fucking asinine part of it. So I think the government is part of the responsibility, because we should have another show on this. Because when you think about, and Scott and you and I know this from Jimmy Dennis, the whole corrupt jail system and everything else that feeds into that, and the multi-billion-dollar stuff. We should probably come back and talk about that, because I think it's the government's responsibility and the government's fault for what's some of this is being perpetuated, because they're not coming up with the answers, like Chris Murphy said from the Senate floor. If you guys have not seen that, I don't like watching all that shit, but I watched Chris Murphy talk about from the Senate floor, and he was holding his fellow senators and his fellow congressmen accountable and saying, what are we doing? We have a bill here that can cover universal background checks, that if you go buy a gun from a private party like I did, I had to go to Big Five and I had to go through the whole process when I bought my shotgun. You know, and what he said was, he goes, I'm a gun carrying member of society, but why do we need this type of gun? Why do we need these things? What are we doing? And again, it goes back to the special interest groups and the NRA and everything else, that people are sitting there going, like when Beto went up there and challenged those guys, and this is not a political thing. Really? Fuck the fuck off. You know, sorry about that. So I appreciate you guys for having this conversation tonight. I appreciate all you guys out here being here. Please, if you have comments and suggestions or things in your own neighborhood that you've done that have implemented, that have happened and that help people, please put them in the comments here. We're going to go back and revisit these comments. We're going to continue having these conversations. And if you have a different perspective, if you know somebody who has a different alignment with this, or has somebody who has done something in their own community, please let us know. Again, go to www.theunfilteredexperience.com, reach out to Scott or myself, reach out to Jacque, connect with them. Jacque, where can people connect with you and continue the conversation? Because this has been super powerful tonight.
Well, you can visit us on Facebook, 4S for Life, or our website, www.4sforlife.com.
Yes. Jacque, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your authenticity.
Anytime.
Thank you for everything that you do every single day, because I see it. I know it. I feel it in my heart, and I'm proud to be a partner with you. And together, all of us, by having this conversation, we want you guys to go out there and have these conversations in your community. Right? We have community crime prevention things and everything else. Let's have a community mental health awareness. Let's go out there and help one another and lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. Let's not watch the news. Let's go out there and be the advocate for change that we want to be, and be a part of the solution, not part of the problem, and stop blaming everybody else and start looking inward and what we can do within ourselves to heal ourselves, and then go out and heal everybody else.
And real quick, to all the men out there that, you know, we can't have conversations. Here's 3 men right here having a conversation, and we're not degrading each other. We're not coming down. We're coming together, unified, to come up with solutions to the problems that are in society nowadays. So it can happen. We're proving it right here.
Amen.
Yes, we are. Jacque, don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you backstage for a second.
Yep.
Scott and I are going to finish out the show. We love you, man. So there you have it, Mr. Goyette, 1 hour and 7 minutes. We could go on for probably indefinitely and talk about all sorts of different issues, but what for you struck the most in tonight's conversation that we can share with the listeners, again, to recap what it is that we can all do to be a part of the solution?
Yeah, it started before we even got on air. We were talking about be the change ourselves. And I think Erin said it, beautifully. She was talking about be love. And so what I would say is this: if God is love, if universe is love, if consciousness is love, to Mary Kay's point, oneness, all one and the same. If we are one, if we are all of that, why are we always saying thoughts and prayers, looking external, asking for help, government do this, do this? It starts in our own hearts. It starts in ourselves. So this is what I would suggest. And this is just coming from one other perspective, point of source, no different than you. Look inside, find your brilliance, share it with the world, take action, meditate on it, keep showing up, and this world will change for the better. We've got this. We're in the middle of some chaos. It's feels like a nightmare, but no different than you've heard before. If you come to a point in life where you feel like you found hell, got to keep moving through it. Just keep driving through it, because on the other side of that is heaven, and we're on the way to that. So be love. I'll end with that.
I can agree more. I mean, it is about that. And you've taught me that, Scott, like really thinking about love. And I was thinking about tonight's conversation, like, okay, it's mental health, it's this, but like peeling back the onion, where does it go back to? Where does it go back to? Where does it go back to? It goes back to the childhood conditioning that we've all experienced, and thinking about, did that kid, as mad as I am at that 18-year-old, at the same time, I want to go out and hug him and go like, what the fuck's going on in your life?
Chris, I went straight to that. I said, how could this, like everyone else is saying, I'm glad he's dead. I would have eaten his soul or whatever. And I'm going, how did his soul get so distorted that he could walk into school? Like my question was how, not you're the devil, but what came into society that allowed that to happen? That's where we need to move towards. That's where the love is lost. The fear overwhelmed him and life. It's so sad.
It truly is. And here's the tipper point for all of you guys out here. We're going to leave you with a cliffhanger. We got the federal government now, essentially the Supreme Court, ready to overturn Roe v. Wade, to sit there and say a woman does not have a right to choose what she does with her body so that she could have more kids. So we have more kids coming into the world, but yet, do we have protection for those kids? Do we have safety for those kids? Do we have mental health for the kids and the parents that are having those kids? We sit there and think, okay, you can go buy. I get chills when I think about this because I get so fucking irritated. The fact that this kid can go buy an AR-15 but can't buy a beer. And the fact that they're going to say, okay, you have to have kids because we don't think it's your right to choose to this. It's all a perpetuation of the whole criminal system and the fact that they want to make things a felony so that you can't have the right to vote so they can perpetuate the white whatever. And I said that out fucking loud.
Business, dude. It's on.
So whatever, guys.
A whole show on it.
This is the Unfiltered experience. This is why Scott and I are here every single week to have these conversations. So please go have these conversations in your house, in your neighborhood. Go out there, be the advocate for change. Because I, for one, cannot sit down anymore. I can't. With this, no. Our kids deserve so much better. I have a 5-year-old, as you know, Scott. He starts elementary school August 10th. I know for me, I'm going to be going over to Washington Elementary and going, hey, ladies and gentlemen, what's your fucking thing? Because I just told this story earlier today. I don't know if I ever told you this. I was asked to speak at a high school in Orange County here in Southern California, a very affluent area. And it was right after Sandy Hook. And me looking like this, walked onto a school campus with a backpack. I was lost. I was like trying to figure out where I was supposed to go. My friend told me, just go to the front office. I got lost and I was at the back part of the school and I walked through the school, through the quad area. I stood in the quad area, me with a backpack on, and not a single person asked anything. And then I walked into the front office through the back door, walked up to the front. She's like, hi, what can we do for you today? And I said, I'd like to know about your school security because I just sat there and walked through your quad area and nobody asked me anything. I could have literally walked out there and went, brrr. I could have killed so many different people. Obviously I didn't because that's not my intention, but the fact that wasn't going on. So I know for me that I'm going to go to Washington Elementary in my own community and say, hey, what's your security? What's your process? What do you got going on for teaching kids these things? And if you don't have anything going on, my buddy Scott, let's get his program in here because we can do that here. I can do this. So you guys can do whatever you can do in your community. Please go do something in your community. Come back and tell us about it. If you want to be on the show, we would love to have you on here and let everybody else know what you're doing in your community to make this world a better place for our kids and for the safety of everybody else, for the 18-year-old boy who was suffering so badly. He felt that he needed to go in there and do that. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Go to theunfilteredexperience.com, become a part of our family. We appreciate you. Go out there, have a blessed weekend. Go out there, be the change that you bitch about. And most of all, go enjoy your moments because nothing is ever guaranteed. We love you, and we'll see you here next time on The Unfiltered Experience.